All right, let's call to order the Chaska Parks Commission Board meeting of Monday, March 11th, 2019. Mary, you want to call to order?
Chair David Roan.
Present.
David Downs.
Here.
Ernesto Ruiz Gutierrez.
Here.
Josh Ives. Lauren Hollow.
Here.
Patricia Whitrock.
Here.
Sean Olson.
Here.
Vice Chair Jason Branch.
Here.
Michael Flaherty Wilcox.
Here.
Vincent Kim.
Here.
Matt Uterman.
Here.
Elizabeth Wyding-Hart.
Here.
Okay, so with that, item number 3 to adopt agenda. Any changes or comments on the agenda as it is listed?
Did you want to mention the minutes?
Did we get copies of the February minutes? I don't think we saw those.
So the February minutes are all online now in the packet.
Need a microphone for you.
Yeah, so the February minutes they're all online now, so they're
Okay, you
included
didn't
in
send
the
out a
packet.
notice for a link or anything like that? We just go and pick them up then? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to review them, so.
Okay, any other comments? Well, actually, I think that as far as this agenda, any comments or changes? If none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the meeting agenda.
I move we accept the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, next up here we have visitor presentation. It appears that we do have some folks with us, and so our typical process here is that you are welcome to approach the podium, introduce yourselves, give us your address, and then feel free to let us know what's on your mind.
Anybody?
Maybe they're just here to observe.
I guess I'll start this. My name's Colin Leck. I live at 1228 Crystal Place East, Chaska, downtown Chaska area. Me and a few of my, actually I got a coworker here and our coworker that isn't here today that are concerned about the Fireman's Park 2, just down behind the Carver Scott Co-op. I don't know what they call it nowadays. And the District 112 had put that up for sale. And from what I've been hearing is that nobody, or they're wanting to put a big apartment development in there, and we would like to ask the commission or the park board to look at buying that property and maintaining it. You guys already maintain it as, you know, year-round with park maintenance and cleaning up and mowing, so there's not an extra cost that would go against that.
Help me understand exactly the location of this again.
It's Catherine Hull. I own property at 406 6th Street. It would be in the black area between the corner of Maple and 6th Street and Beach and 6th. So it's right behind literally the old co-op or the old junior high, if you're familiar with that area. And it's been a park there since the 70s. I grew up in that neighborhood off the corner of 5th or 6th and Maple. We grew up flying kites in that neighborhood. We slid down the hills. We watched our children grow up and play in that park. My sister still lives on the corner of 5th and Maple in the family house. That neighborhood got broken up with those big ugly power poles, and the one solstice is the fact that they have the beautiful little park there for the kids to play. I know that that's a very passionate plea for that in a sense, but there really isn't any parks on the east side of 41 south of Chaska Boulevard. There's one over by the HOA Association way by Crystal Park, And then there's St. John's, which they aren't very welcoming to kids in the neighborhood to play, and there's a big fence around it.
Okay.
This is just an open area. The kids play soccer, they play football. They're not playing in the streets. They're actually just playing, which there's a joy in that, a simple childhood joy of watching kids ride their bike down the hill, breakneck speed, and watching them slide. And we learned golf. We sat on the edge of the thing and we golfed the length of it. So when there was a warming house and a ice rink, we skated. We worked there. Exactly. So for us, it's to look at that, to think of a development in that area. When we were promised by the city that 6th Street would be developed into houses as property went up for sale, and the city constantly has failed us. That street is rubble. It used to be the old Getty Pickle Factory, and they still don't even have plumbing, sewer running up and down the entire length of 6th Street. That neighborhood's been neglected. At least tell us have our park.
So you're saying at this point that there's some consideration out there for this to become a development?
Yes, Michaela? What's Michaela Hatfield? Michaela Hatfield has mentioned that the city is willing to rezone it into a medium to high density residential.
It is currently zoned as R2, which is medium density, so townhomes. It's for sale. The school district owns the property. Oh, I'm Chris DeBoer, by the way. And I live at 523 in the corner of 6th and Maple.
Okay.
I've lived there for 52 years.
Okay.
My first job there. It's just that the park was originally located where they built the jail, and the city relocated the park there. They moved the trees, they moved the equipment, they brought in stuff. It's signed for the city, it's maintained by the city, mowed, garbage, picnic tables, weed killer. You know, it's every week they're there mowing. Why do you invest in property you don't own? Why not purchase the property? It's in the 40-year comp plan to have a park on the east side of town.
Right.
So why reinvent the wheel? It's already there. We don't like the traffic. It's great. There's a lot of dead-end streets that go through there, so it's safe for the kids. The school district comes over during the day, so it's constantly used. It's just an important part of maintaining the small town feel of Chaska. I just don't understand why you invest in a park and don't own it. When I went to the county website, and the GIS shows it as a county park, and then you go to the, no.
Oh, really?
And then when you go to the city website, it shows a city park. But if you go to the property tax statement, it is school district, non-rev. So I don't understand why you wouldn't just keep what you have. So it's a lot of work to move the equipment and the trees. So I just would like to see it stay there. We have another neighbor here. We talked to other neighbors who couldn't be here. We'd just like to take it into consideration. And Michaela had said it would be discussed tonight, and I didn't see it on the agenda, but we came anyway. Hopefully our words are for nothing.
Well, no, we're glad you're here, and I would, open it up here
Judging
for.
by the reactions, none of you even knew about this park or that it was for sale?
No, I did.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a post on the Chaska Facebook group that came up, and I emailed Matt, the city administrator, to ask what was going on. And you already said these things, but basically, he said the parcel is owned by the school district. They have allowed us to use it over the years as open space, but recently let us know that they consider excess property now and are going to try to sell it.
It's listed for $210,000.
What's that?
It's listed for $210,000.
Yep.
So,
And it says the property would have to be zoned before it could be used for any development purposes.
the listing says it's zoned R2.
Zoned R2, okay.
So it sounds like it's already zoned, which is not what our city council person told us.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of surprised she's not here because she said she grew up in the neighborhood too. She's our neighbor. Still is in our neighborhood. So
that's all I found out about it ahead of time. But.
Yeah, the downtown master plan shows a neighborhood park proposed kind of a block north of St. John's. There's a open,
Yes, that's correct.
probably about a
And that's what was referred to as
two-thirds.
Fireman's Park 2, is that correct? No.
No, that's
No,
not
that's
where,
it's
it was
different.
a old electrical transformer station.
Okay.
So I would really question whether how safe that land is because
Okay.
of the fact of what it used to be. But,
Leaching and-
exactly. The one thing to know is that the school district wants the money. The school district has the desire to enter into a cooperative relationship with Southwest Metro and have a joint school barn somewhere else. And the reason that they need the money is to have some down payment money to do it, as well as they're trying to avoid a referendum. They're approaching the state, and apparently if they have a certain balance of money, and I don't know the details of this, but if they have a certain balance of money, they can circumvent a referendum and go into this cooperative relationship with Southwest Metro.
And according to our council person, this is where we were supposed to start, so that's why we're here.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to applaud you guys for being here and sharing this information and the passion behind it. I know sometimes, at least for me, when I've appeared here, it's a little bit intimidating, but you have your facts and there's a good amount of research done behind it, and you did come to the right place, so thank you for being here.
All right.
Third?
You said what I was going to say. So thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, and it's on the record here now, and that's how things get
One
openly
thing to
discussed.
note is that in the history of that little black neighborhood park, is that they used to actually have youth soccer teams play there and youth t-ball. And I think it would be lovely to have youth t-ball and soccer and youth football come back down to that area. It's far away from Chaska Boulevard, which the old substation, which is just next to the East Creek Family Center, is pretty much right across the railroad tracks from Chaska Boulevard.
Across the street from that already,
Yeah.
on the Auburn property.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much for your time.
Sorry, before you sit down, I have a question about process then. So I think we have some fact finding and things that we need to do on our end, right? Do we take their contact information? How do we follow up with them? Do we tell them to come again next month for an update? So I really applaud you guys for coming forward, and I want to make sure that you leave with at least some kind of understanding of what we are going to go and do, and then what the next steps are. And you've got their contact information? Excellent,
Okay.
great. Okay, so
All right.
good.
So see Mary here before you go. Make sure you get your information, and then again, you're now on the record, with what you're advocating for here, and that is, where it starts. And so, again,
I know
Matt had
the
said-
city council also discussed this during other business at their last meeting. And I think Matt said he was going to be reaching out to you, Marshall, on kind of, the way Matt was talking about it, he was talking about more pursuing the land across from St. John's, so.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's reached out to you yet or if that's still pending, but.
Yeah, and that's still pending, and I would just reiterate again, thank you guys for coming today. It's good for me to get a little history lesson myself, being new with Chaska, and just understanding your guys' connection to that space. I think what I can say is, like the commission pointed out, the master plan does call for a park in that area. It's our goal as we look throughout our entire system that we have a park available within a half a mile of everybody's residence. So that's kind of the goal as we look at our park system across the community. And so we just need to kind of take this information as new information that it was the school's land and they're now interested in selling it, and explore what our next options are. And so having you guys come forward today definitely helps us consider your guys's.
I was actually on the committee that helped design it and move it to that location, so it's
Okay.
kind of really hitting home now again, full circle around. So
Yeah.
that and our mom was also on the Park and Rec Board for years and years and years.
Oh, really?
you know,
Oh, wow.
Planning Commission.
Oh, Park and Rec before Planning.
That's true.
Great.
So, yeah.
I think
One
you and
thing
I
to
might have to
note-
go have coffee sometime. That'd be good.
Every Thursday morning,
Yeah.
Dunn Brothers. The one thing also to note is that if you guys are contemplating that St. John's property just on the other side, 4th Street is a very busy street.
Yeah.
Where our neighborhood that we would like to keep it at is actually a very quiet street. And I would feel very comfortable with children playing and having fun without the busyness of the co-op. And I work for Carver County, as does Colin. We know that the kind of traffic that goes on 4th Street. So I would just ask you to consider that as well, that the kids would have a much quieter place to play.
Can I suggest some action items for us for the next meeting?
Sure.
So, and I'm happy to chip in on this, but I'm looking at you, Marshall and Mary. I'm wondering if we can get on our next agenda, get this on one of the new business items, and if we could see some maps of the two properties, because there's 2 properties, right?
It's just one large property.
Oh, okay. Okay, so some maps of what they're talking about, and if we could definitively find out what it is zoned as, and then what the city's already spending for the maintenance costs on it, because it sounds like it's already being maintained by us. So what is that already? What are we already spending on it, as you mentioned? And then maybe pull out the relevant parts of the comp plan that talk about that area, and just kind of get it all together into a packet that we can look at together. And I guess because it's a public sale, something could happen before the next meeting. So I don't know what to do about that, but I think that if we could get that for the next meeting, that would be wonderful to get all our facts together and talk about it. Informed.
Yeah, I think at the very least, we probably need to reach out to the school district and just have them be keeping us in the loop on what's going on with it. And if it does sell, we should be in touch with the new owners and see if we can at least maintain it as a park, continue our current arrangement there until the new owner does whatever they're gonna do with it, so.
That's a good idea.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And yeah, please give us your contact info if you haven't already.
Yeah, Mary got it.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, we will close the visitor presentation at 7:17. And moving on to our next agenda item, which is to approve Park Board meeting minutes from February 11th of 2019. Any questions, comments, corrections from the February minutes? You want to look at them now, Dave?
I'll trust you.
All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept or approve the meeting minutes from February 11th.
So moved.
As an alternate, I do not believe we can,
It's fine.
is that?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Uterman. A second?
Second.
Second from Olson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right, so that's that. So our next item up here, if I can find it here on my computer. All right, that brings us on to new business. And so with this, we were looking to go ahead and kind of introduce to the general public here, our legion of viewers, our new commissioners. And so we're going to ask that you kindly, one at a time, go ahead and approach the podium. And if you could, and it's Elizabeth, if you want to lead us off here, Elizabeth Wayfinding Barth. Please forgive me if I just pronounced that incorrectly. But if you could just go ahead and introduce yourself, where you live and what your interest, what's prompted you to want to join us here on the commission.
Sure. My name is Elizabeth Wayfinding.
Wayfinding.
Wayfinding, like the glass, the drink. I am so excited to be part of the commission, and I actually grew up in Chaska and have now moved back with my husband and 2 small children. And we're an active family that likes to do things outdoors and just be involved in all of the community events that are offered. So kind of ties into my desire to serve on the park board. And I hope to bring my enthusiasm in supporting, maintaining, and improving the community in which we live in. And I'm just looking forward to working with everyone in the community, and I hope to bring a voice of a family with small children to the board as well. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
On your appointment.
Thanks.
And so, Matt Uterman, why don't you come up, approach, and introduce yourself.
My name is Matt Uterman. My wife Krista and myself, our 3.5-year-old Brooklyn and our 5-month-old ITB in the belly, are enthused to be part of this community and the growth of it. We think that it's our place to step in and actually be in the arena and formal roles like this, and so we step forward to do so. We're also enthused that Chaska and the surrounding community provides a great opportunity for fitness and health that I think is probably our best tool for economic development as it is right now. And I want to be part of that as this community grows and the enthusiasm and momentum of Fireman's Park and that area, as well as downtown developments and a couple new parks with the new school that are coming on board. And I want to learn from yourself and others that have served a number of years here, and eventually we'll pass the torch to younger families like ours, and also be an advocate for what is going on here and getting those voices to be articulated in different communities as being a member of the Jonathan community as well. Thank you for having me.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Matt. Congrats to you as well. And then we have our student representative, Vincent Kim, who is now going to introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Vincent Kim. I'm a junior at Chaska High School. I grown up here in Chaska. I went to elementary school at Clover Ridge Elementary. I went to middle school at Chaska Middle School West. And I've hit that age where I really want to start being more involved with my community, and I want to start giving back because I want to do something more. So I decided that the park board is something that I really wanted to do, and I hope that I can bring a unique viewpoint to a lot of the things on our agenda. And thanks for having me here.
Congratulations, Vincent. Seems to scare the daylights out of me that I remember Clover Ridge being built, and now we have a commissioner. So that is awesome. I'd also like to extend congratulations to Ernesto Gutierrez for being reappointed for another term here on the Parks Commission. So we're delighted to have you back as well. All right, so with that, we are going to go ahead and close out agenda item number 6 and move on to agenda item number 7, which is other business. And that's starting out with an update on the mountain bike trail. So, Marshall?
Yeah, thank you, Commission. So just a couple updates here under other business, and just to provide a little bit of background for the new commission members here regarding the mountain bike trail. This is a project we're looking at that we were approached by a group of local community members that are parents and, in addition, coaches at the Chaska High School for their club mountain bike team. And they have an interest in creating some more single track off-road mountain bike trails here in Chaska, and had approached us about some land that is essentially kind of kitty corner from Pioneer Ridge Trail that's currently owned by MnDOT. And through MnDOT, we're essentially working to try to obtain what's called a limited use permit to be able to utilize this right-of-way land that's essentially undevelopable to incorporate some mountain bike trails. So we had heard presentations from them, and as a board, made that recommendation to go ahead and pursue this. And throughout that process, we came across a little bit of a, maybe I'll say a trail bump, no pun intended, but some of that land that is owned by MnDOT, we learned a portion of it is also owned by Carver County. So that just created another dynamic for us to be able to essentially obtain permission to utilize that whole space for the mountain bike trails that this Carver Trails group is wanting to put in there. And so we're currently have been working with Carver County on obtaining a limited use permit from them as well. So that's been going on behind the scenes. And so as of today, where we're currently at is we've come up with a formal memorandum of agreement that would be between the city of Chaska and Carver Trails, which Carver Trails is the official name of the volunteer group. So that is currently in the hands of Carver Trails. They're having that memorandum of understanding is currently being reviewed by their lawyer. And then they're also working with an insurance agent to get quotes on the insurance requirements that would come with this project on their end. And then similarly, as it relates to Carver County, the limited use permit is currently in their hands. It's being reviewed. They still have yet to have it reviewed by their lawyer. So that's still in process, and we're working on lining up another meeting with them more than likely next week. So just kind of wanted to update that things are still in progress. It's inching forward. But from a city's perspective, you know, we've currently done what we feel like we can do, and we're really waiting to hear back from Carver Trails and their lawyer on the MOU, and then continue to work with Carver County on the limited use permit. The next steps would be, once those entities are comfortable with moving forward, we would then bring this item to a city council agenda meeting and position the limited use permits for both Carver County and MnDOT all as one package. And so essentially we need to get permission or a resolution from the city council to go ahead and seek these limited use permits, which, and then once that gets approved, they would then go to those respective entities. They would then review the permit and the exhibits we'd provide. And should they agree to that, we would then work with Carver Trails on starting the build out of those trails. So, any questions on any of that?
Well, thank you for the update on the trails. So that brings us to item 7B, which is the wayfinding update.
All right, I'm actually gonna come up for this one. So last month I had alluded as well that we're working with Carver County and Victoria on developing some pilot project essentially to get feedback on wayfinding out on our trail systems. And we just had a meeting this morning and have been also working with our Public Works Director, Brian Jung, with this as well, because we would need their input in signage and implementation. But the goal that we're trying to achieve is to create a pilot project this spring, summer, where we would identify a loop trail system within Chaska. And then we also want to identify a linear trail option, ideally connecting Carver, downtown Carver to downtown Chaska all the way up to downtown Victoria. And so looking at the trail map here, these are trails that we're able to work with. And so highlighted would be the loop trail here. That would be a downtown trail loop. So it would run along the current levee trail. And then from here we could provide signage leading towards Carver, going this way. But essentially they could, users could come into downtown and then loop all the way around here.
What's the distance of that loop?
I'm not exactly sure yet. So this is just kind of conceptual. I would say, if I had to guess, 3 to 5 miles, somewhere in there. And what'll be unique about it is working with Carver County, the goal of this is trying to figure out kind of the mechanism of signing across jurisdictions. You know, so this trail section here is actually regional trail. You know, and then in here would be more city trail. But the great thing through the kind of the conversations we're having is, from a user's standpoint, it's not really about whose trail it is. It's all about getting people to where they want to go and feeling like they have a sense of direction out on the trails. And then to go to Victoria, scroll up here, you would just come north here and follow the highlighted line up here. And then once we get to here, Victoria then has plans on their side to create the wayfinding going into their downtown, all the way over to their light rail system.
That's right along Bavaria Boulevard?
Mm-hmm. So the next steps is for Brian Jung and I to get out kind of into the field and start to identify where we think we would locate signage. What are the various interest points that we'd want to identify on those signs, relative distant markers, things like that. And also just being mindful that this is a pilot, so the whole idea is to experiment with signage. Mm-hmm. So some of it may be identifying where we can attach signs to existing signposts that are out there, to where we might need to install new signposts, where we might be able to possibly utilize paint or graphics right on the trail itself, things of that nature. And then working with Carver County, they'd be interested in conducting a survey throughout the summer for us to be able to get feedback. So the whole goal here is to try to do this in a somewhat economical way, to be able to get feedback and inform us on signage that actually works, so that we can then, when we get to a point where we want to permanently sign our trails according to the wayfinding study that the city had done a year or two ago, we're sitting in a good position, and you know, before we make that bigger investment into the signage system. I think it'll lend itself to generating some excitement to get people out on the trails, possibly doing some events and/or programming to get people out there specifically along these trails that have the wayfinding on them, and just get different feedback from different user groups would be the goal of this.
So at different points along these trails where your instructions or directions are being offered, will there also be information there that if somebody has questions or comments about that, where to go, you know, so that it's going to make it easy for somebody at the moment of truth to know where they could send their input?
Yeah, so we'll probably look at a combination. I think the county actually has a desire to hire like a research company, so they would actually have staff or people out there on the trail and connecting with the users that are out there and have a small survey of some sort for them to fill out. So you try to find those ideal times where there's more likely to be users out on the trail, along with, you know, if we did generate an event or something like that, that would obviously be another ideal time to try to intercept people and get their feedback out on the trail.
Marshall, is there any planned engagement with the business community? Because I know when you're connecting trails like this, the economic value to those businesses is real.
Yeah, so I think that'll be where we need to figure out how we want to sign things, especially downtown, you know, and what is the mechanism to decide who gets to go on the sign. So that'll all be part of that feedback process.
And this blends into the bike-friendly city as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. So the whole mountain bike project and this, it all is kind of starting to organically play into the bicycle-friendly community, yeah. Which we're still waiting to hear back on Bike MN from their initial report. So I'll update you once we get that, but have full intention on inviting them back in some fashion to give a presentation on their initial findings and just to continue the discussion. One thing that plays into the bicycle-friendly community too, coming up for us to be mindful of, is the month of May. Month of May is Bicycle Month, and one of my intentions will be to really try to rally the community around Bike to Work Day. And so working with the county again on that and looking to reach out to Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Business Alliance as well as another great opportunity for us to try to encourage people to bike to work. I think it's on Friday, May 17th, if I recall, is Bike to Work Day. And generate some more enthusiasm around biking.
All right,
That's
any
great.
other questions or comments for Director Grange? All right, thank you very much. All right, so that moves us on to item 7C, which works in conjunction with item 7D, and that is to receive the City Council meeting minutes from January 28th of 2019. If you've had a chance to review those, any questions, comments, or areas of discussion from those? All right, no motions are required in the reception of those meeting minutes, and so that moves us on to item number 8, which is staff reports. And so, department happenings report.
All right, thank you. So as always, it's a great opportunity for me to showcase the things that are occurring in our department that staff have put in the department happenings, and just to pull out a few of those key things for our meeting together. And so looking back at last month, Community Center hosted another very successful carnival. It's a tradition that a lot of family members look forward to. That was held back on Friday, March 1st, and even though we've been dealing with a very snowy season, we still had a very good turnout that evening, and 250 or so kids were in attendance, which was great to see. Also happy to report that in February, the Chaska Community Center broke 9,000 members So we're continuing to grow, which is great. That's just a phenomenal number. An update on Park Run. So if you recall back in January, we heard a presentation on Park Run, and we're still working behind the scenes to get that up and running as well. And where that currently sits is Nate, who's the individual that came and spoke. He created a Facebook group page called Let's Bring Park Run to Chaska MN. And so if you're on social media, I encourage you to go ahead and search that and join the group where you can learn and get updates about Park Run. And then Missy Goff, who is one of our fitness coordinators, fitness supervisor at the community center. She's also a co-administrator for that Facebook group page. And then I'm currently working with our communications department to also be able to essentially kind of share that page and get the message out to the community. But the whole idea behind the Facebook group page is to just build awareness about what Park Run is. And then the intent will be, once the weather allows us to get on the trails, we'll try to coordinate an actual run for the community on a given Saturday to just sort of test it out and get feedback. But as you recall, this is really a community-led program, so we're still needing to generate the excitement and get some volunteers that would be interested in sustaining this Park Run program. Let's see, at the Community Center Theater, the Chaska Valley Family Theater hosted Godspell over there, which was a big hit. And then they're coming back in the summer for Bye Bye Birdie. So if you get a chance, check that out. We also upgraded the lighting system within the theater. It was at a point where the house lights were, we had to utilize the breaker in the back room essentially to control the house lights. So we invested in upgrading the lights in the theater, which has been very good. Let's see, looking ahead, tomorrow actually we're due to receive a new piece of equipment at the fitness center, and this is to replace a piece of equipment that the repairs just were beyond kind of the value of repairing. So we're going to diversify a little bit and bring in what's called an upper body ergometer, and it also is a unique machine that allows people in a wheelchair to access it, but essentially it's utilizing the upper body. And then it's got the ability to adjust up and down as well, so people can utilize it standing and or seated. So that'll be a neat addition to the fitness center. Also happy to share that as we expand upon our adaptive programming, as you recall, we've been carving out some time for adaptive open gym on Friday evenings. Well, we're now going to expand to offer some adaptive open swim. So allowing those people to enjoy the pool on some select Saturdays from 11:30 to 12:30. And then lastly, lots of exciting things occurring over at the Curling and Event Center. This last weekend, we just finished up U5 Bonspiel that took place, started on last week Friday, went through the weekend. And then we're ramping up on this coming Wednesday through the remainder of the weekend. We're hosting the U18 Nationals. So this is a USA curling event, and this would be the best of the best within the U18. These are the potential future Olympians coming from all over the country. So if you get a chance, stop on by and watch some good junior curling this weekend.
right, thank you, Marshall. Any questions for Marshall? Just to reiterate, for someone that goes on Facebook, if they were to search "Let's Bring Park Run to Chaska," that would bring it up?
That'll bring it up, yep.
Okay.
And then they can just join the group.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so that moves us on to next meeting. Well, actually, what we typically would do in advance of that is we kind of have an informal history here of doing a little bit of a round table. And since, Ernesto, we normally would go from left to right, but we're going to reverse it since you're a veteran here of the board, and we'll let Vincent go last. But if, did you have anything that you would like to share, just in general?
Well, I'd like to hear all about the new projects we're working, like the bike. I'm really excited about it, and you know, and all the updates. Like, I want to like get it, like say, you know, it's done, because I'm really excited to try the bike mountain. How is it called? The group we're trying to.
The mountain bike trail?
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that.
Good.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, Mike?
I just want to thank the community members that came out earlier to let us know their concerns about Fireman's Park 2. And I'm looking forward to following up on that and at least get them some information.
David?
I've got a question. The downtown development, the city block development, I think you were sitting on the board. Is that an ongoing thing? Is that something that we should be doing something with, or is that on hold right now? Or
yeah, as of December, it was put in the city council's hands, and then as far as that, the task force has been dispersed at that point.
okay. Is that? I remember when we were together with the city council, Matt was talking about how he wanted the Parks and Recreation to have a pretty good sized part in that development, and what would be planned for the central area to the block and things that they were looking for. Is that something that we should be touching base with them to see if there's something that we should be pursuing at this point, or is that on hold right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I foresee us doing is sometime this summer when the weather's nicer, I think that would be a great work session for us to get out and see other public plazas in the metro area and just start to participate and see other good examples of what kind of activation or programming can be done in those types of spaces. Just so that as that development continues over time, we have some context and the ability to support the types of programming we may want to incorporate in there. So I see that, I definitely see us having a role in that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could get ahead of the curve a little bit on that one.
Yep, and that's what I believe, and I think it's the programming is going to be key.
Yep.
And, yeah, and Marshall, I think you along with us and your team. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be great. But yeah, I do agree that we should stay on the ball on this, and whether they're waiting for this or that to pass or happen, we should have our ducks in a row and be ready. So when they do come asking,
yeah, and I think it would be a great learning experience for us to go out and visit some of the other communities that are very successful in their approach to that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, kind of along those lines, we're actually, and I can bring more information probably next month, but we're having discussions with the Chamber of Commerce regarding their farmers market that occurs in the summer. So typically that's been held in City Square Park. However, due to planned road construction there this summer, we've had to work with them about relocating the farmers market. And so as a result of that, the idea sort of sparked that, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to look at how we can program downtown. Because the initial thought was, to move it over to Fireman's Park, which could be done. However, in thinking about the future programming at the City Square West Plaza, we're thinking that this could be an opportunity to, again, pilot some things and get some feedback from the community, and more importantly, getting them used to coming downtown for some events. And so as it sits right now, we're looking at hosting the farmers market in the City Hall parking lot on Wednesdays, and then working with other businesses in the Downtown Business Alliance on how we can maybe even also expand on what's offered at the farmers market and do some different programming week to week. And Parks and Recreation will be a part of that as well. And so we see Wednesday nights being a real active opportunity for people to come on downtown to the farmers market, and ideally extending that energy over to Fireman's Park into the evening, because we typically have concerts there on Wednesday nights beginning at 7 o'clock. So they're sort of starting to spread out that activity throughout downtown. So that'll be kind of another way for us to sort of test and get feedback from the community as we navigate towards that City Square West Plaza.
Great. That's all I got.
All right, you can circle back on me, Jason.
Nothing for me this week.
All right, Lauren?
Just to recognize Mary and the rest of the staff for all the work that they put into the working session that we had before the meeting today. There was a lot of research and gathering of facts and putting together relevant information. I appreciate the effort that went into it. Thank you.
Sean?
I guess I just have a question on the new community park in Southwest Chaska. Obviously, houses are going in like crazy down there. Is there a timeline for us to start beginning the process to plan on that? I know the school district, as of now, is tentatively planning to have a referendum to build the new school that presumably would go on that piece of land down in that area. So is there a timeline for us to start kind of attacking that park, or is that still kind of up in the air?
Good question. I think it's still a little bit up in the air. I think it does ultimately depend on whether or not that elementary school gets placed there and some of the timing with that. But ironically, I have already talked to our city administrator about that timeline, just knowing that that's going to be a significant part for us to plan. I think it could be a process that we want to start earlier than later. And so I don't know, I don't have an exact timeline for you tonight, but it's twirling around in the back of my head for sure.
Okay.
I'm seeing that happening hopefully in the near future, to just start at least working with an architect and starting to get some ideas together and building out some concepts so that when we're ready to start engaging the community, we're ready.
Okay, that's all for me.
All right, Vincent?
I think that the Wayfinding Trail is a great project, and I'm excited to learn more about it. But I think more importantly, I want to thank the people who presented here today, and I'd say that the Fireman's Park too, more information on that would be important so that we can really understand the situation going on. But other than that, I don't have anything else to say.
All right, terrific. And so I just have a couple of items here. I'm sorry?
Touch base with Elizabeth.
Oh, Elizabeth. Oh, by all means, yes.
I really enjoyed hearing from the community members that visited today, and I'm excited to hear more of the fact gathering that we can get on the park.
And Matt?
just wanted to echo firsthand, the carnival was fantastic. Our daughter had a fantastic time. She also took in the play, which was wonderful. And we also packed in Under the Sea on ice, which is, we had to drive all of 2 miles to make it all happen. And I think we all share the sentiment that we're ready for the snow to be gone so we can enjoy the trails.
Yeah, amen to that. All right. Thanks, Dave, for not letting me that oversight go. Just a couple of things here. First off, I just wanted to congratulate our former Parks Board Chair, who was appointed by City Council to serve on the City Council, Nate Bostrom. And so many of us have served with Nate here, and well, maybe not so many with many of the new faces here on this commission, but at any rate, congratulations to Nate out there. And then also just wanted to shed a little light, and I'm just going to make a blanket congratulations to, the Chaska High School and the many athletic achievements. I'm afraid if I were to start naming them individually, we'd be here all night. So let's just say congratulations, Chaska High School, well done. And closer to home for the Parks Department, I wanted to make note here that I saw in the paper that a Mike Koster was named the Star Tribune Metro Hockey Player of the Year. And the significance here for the Chaska Parks Department is he came out of the Breakaway Academy, which, headquarters right there at our community center downtown. And so the hockey team had a tremendous season, and it looks to me that the Breakaway Academy is, really producing some tremendous players, and I believe they've got 3 players that have committed to play Division I college hockey. So congratulations to Breakaway, and congratulations to the Chaska hockey team as well. All right, well, that's all I've got here, and so with that, Vincent, if you'd like to make the box score here, if you would feel the same way, that I'd accept a motion from you to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
And second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.